My name's Eli. I'm 36. I live alone in a small one-bedroom apartment just outside Columbus, Ohio. I fix servers, update security systems, help old folks remember their Wi-Fi passwords. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills. I don't wear suits. I don't do PowerPoint. I do practical. Hoodie and jeans, coffee black, quiet nights. My younger brother Landon? He's the star. Always has been. He's 29, runs a nutrition tech startup that just crossed its first million in funding. Drives a white Tesla, wears tailored everything, uses phrases like exit strategy and angel rounds. I once made a joke about him having more followers than morals. He laughed and called me salty. The thing is, he wouldn't have that company without me. Back when Landon was still sketching logos on napkins, he came to me in panic. He had the idea. He had the pitch. He just didn't have the money. His words, not mine. Eli, man, you're the only one I trust with this. You're smart. You're stable. Please. So I did what big brothers do. I didn't question it. I took $28,000 from my investments and wired it to his account. No contracts, no repayment terms, just trust. I didn't tell our parents. I didn't want the spotlight. I've always been the quiet one, the tech guy, the one who fixes everyone else's printer but never gets invited to speak at dinner. Last week was the company's one-year celebration. They rented out a private room at this rooftop bar in downtown Columbus. Fancy place. Light strings, white tablecloths, servers in suspenders. I showed up in a navy button-down and black jeans, tried to blend in. Not many people knew me. I stood in the back with a ginger ale, watching Landon work the crowd like a campaign trail. My heart swelled a bit. He was living his dream. Then came the speech. Landon took the mic, smiling like he just invented oxygen. He thanked his co-founders. He thanked their lawyer, their first client, even their brand consultant. And then he said it. There's no one else I owe this to more than myself. I built this from the ground up, with nothing but grit, faith, and vision. The room clapped. I just stood there. Not one word, not even a nod in my direction. I let it go. I really did. I smiled, made small talk, told people I was just family, and I left early because suddenly the bar felt cold, like I didn't belong. 2 days later, our mom called, said how proud she was of Landon, how, isn't it amazing what your brother's achieved? I said, yeah, it's amazing. She laughed and said, well, you always said you weren't the business type, honey. You're more behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. Like a stagehand. Like wallpaper. What she didn't know, what none of them know, is that I didn't just fund Landon's dream. I built the infrastructure for it. His entire back end is still hosted on the cloud network I configured. I wrote the original security scripts. I paid for the initial server space with my own debit card. And here's the kicker. 3 nights ago, I got a message request on Instagram from a woman named Riley. She said, hey, weird question. Did you used to go on Coffee Crew? Like a few years back? I stared at her profile. Gorgeous, sharp eyes, clean-cut professional, looked familiar. Then it hit me. Riley was someone I used to chat with online. We never met in person. She ghosted me halfway through planning a first date. She's also Landon's girlfriend, the one he paraded around at the anniversary party. I blinked, sat down, took a breath. And then I scrolled further, through her photos. That's when I saw it. A snapshot of them at a winery in Napa. Caption, can't believe he built all this from nothing. You're my hero. My chest went still, because I recognized the jacket Landon was wearing in that photo. It was mine. The night after Riley's message, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling for hours, just watching shadows shift across the plaster. My mind kept replaying that picture. Landon grinning like a golden retriever. Riley holding on to him like he was the second coming of Steve Jobs. And that jacket. My old Navy Harrington. I hadn't seen it in years. He used to borrow stuff from me all the time growing up. Never asked. Just took. Clothes, tools, my bike once. Mom would say, "He looks up to you." Like that excused everything. Now he was wearing my jacket in California wine country, standing next to a woman who once called me thoughtful and grounded in a late-night text before she ghosted me. You ever feel like your entire life's been recycled into someone else's highlight reel? I didn't reply to Riley. I didn't say a word. I just closed the app and sat in silence. Something in me cracked open that night. Not rage, not quite heartbreak. More like this raw, cold realization. They never saw me as anything but useful. The next morning, I opened the admin dashboard for Nutricor, the company I helped Landon build. He never changed the passwords. Still used the same login I set up on day one. I looked at the server logs, the backend pipeline, the AWS account. All of it still ran through me. I didn't pull the plug. I'm not vindictive like that. But I disabled access to 3 integrations I personally built: the inventory sync, the customer data export, and the payment fallback system. Nothing illegal, nothing permanent. But it would force a phone call. And sure enough, 5 hours later, Landon called. I didn't pick up. Then came a text. "Bro system's glitching, can you check? Big client demo tomorrow, urgent." Then another, "PLs respond." Seriously, I let it sit. I needed him to sweat. By the end of the day, he sent a third message. Just 2 words. "You good?" I stared at that one the longest. Not "thank you," not "I'm sorry." Just some half-assed check-in like I was a cable box he needed rebooted. That same evening, I got a call from my mom. She sounded flustered, like she had just been crying or trying not to. "Eli, honey, I just got off the phone with your brother. Something happened with his company?" I didn't answer. She continued. "He said you interfered, that you're mad about something. I don't know what's going on, but I told him that's not like you." "Mom," I said, keeping my voice steady, "do you even know how Landon's company started?" She paused. "Well, he always said it was his dream. He worked so hard. He came to me." I cut in. "I funded it. I set up the systems. I kept it running when he didn't know a damn thing about back-end infrastructure. I've been maintaining it in silence for over a year. And the anniversary party?" He thanked his damn brand consultant. Silence. Then she said the one thing I hoped she wouldn't. "Maybe you're just upset because you feel left out." I hung up. That night, I opened an old folder on my hard drive. Inside were copies of the original seed funding wire, dated screenshots of the app's first prototype, all with my fingerprints on it. I uploaded it all into a private Google Drive, just in case. And I thought that was going to be the worst of it. Until the next morning. I was grabbing coffee at the little shop near my apartment when I saw a group of people crowding around a laptop. One of them, a guy in a Nutricor hoodie, turned the screen my way for a second. And my heart stopped. It was a post from Landon on LinkedIn. 500+ likes already. When someone you trust tries to sabotage your dream, you realize not everyone clapping is in your corner. Grateful for the ones who stuck by me through betrayal. Betrayal. He was painting me as the villain, publicly. And I knew in that moment, this wasn't about a business glitch. It wasn't about a jacket. Landon was about to burn me to the ground to protect his own image. But what he didn't know, what no one knew, was that I still held the receipts. Literal, digital, legal. And I was done playing the quiet brother. After Landon's LinkedIn post went live, everything shifted. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was war. People I hadn't heard from in years started messaging me out of the blue. Old classmates, cousins, even 2 of Landon's exes. Most of them wanted the dirt, to hear my side. Some were just fishing for drama. But what hit hardest wasn't the public humiliation. It was what happened 5 days later. I was in my garage, fixing the back wheel on my bike. Hands covered in grease. Hoodie stained. Just a regular Sunday afternoon, quiet and cold. Then I heard the sound of tires on gravel. I looked up, and my heart dropped. Landon's Tesla rolled into my driveway, slow like a shark circling a boat. He stepped out in a slim-fit coat, sunglasses on even though it was overcast. And behind him, my parents. Dad looked tired. Mom was holding a Tupperware container like this was some kind of damn family picnic. "Eli," she said with that voice, the one she used when she was trying to act like everything was fine. "We wanted to talk." I didn't move, just wiped my hands on a towel and waited. Landon walked up like we were best buds, clapped a hand on my shoulder like the cameras were rolling. "Bro," he said, "can we clear the air? You've been acting real out of pocket lately." I stepped back. "You mean by cutting off access to systems I built? With money I gave you?" He laughed. "Come on, man. Don't be dramatic. You're smart, I've always said that. But this isn't the way." Mom jumped in. "Sweetheart, Landon's under a lot of pressure. Investors are watching. What you did, well, it just made things harder for everyone." I stared at her, trying not to let my voice shake. "I made it harder? You mean by refusing to be erased?" Dad cleared his throat. He hadn't spoken yet. Then finally, "Look, son, we just want the family to move forward. If there's money involved, let's handle it like adults. No more tech games. No more drama." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So now it's about the money," I said slowly. "It's always about the money." Landon grinned like I'd finally caught on. "Exactly. That's why I've got a proposal." He pulled out a manila folder and handed it to me. Inside, a partnership agreement, terms already filled out. My name listed as silent co-founder. A 5% equity stake? 5%. I blinked. "You want me to sign this?" "Think of it as making peace," he said smoothly. "You keep your stake, we drop the online drama, and you stay out of the spotlight. Everyone wins." Mom nodded like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. "Your brother's trying to fix this, Eli. Don't be stubborn." Something broke in me then, a quiet kind of fury. I looked at all three of them and realized they hadn't come to make peace. They'd come to negotiate with the version of me they still thought existed, the quiet helper, the background guy, the one who always said yes. I looked Landon dead in the eyes. "No." His face twitched. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, no deal. I don't want 5%. I don't want anything." "Then what do you want?" he snapped, voice rising. "Revenge? You want to burn it all down?" I didn't answer. I just turned and walked back toward the house. They followed. Inside on the kitchen table, I had already printed a full report. Seed funding receipts, emails, prototype documentation, all time-stamped, all tied to my name. I handed it to my dad. "This is what I want," I said. "I want you to read this and tell me again that I'm being dramatic." He flipped through the pages, mouth tightening. Mom hovered behind him, silent. Landon didn't even look. He just scoffed. "This is petty, man. No one cares about who coded what anymore." And that's when I hit him with it. I turned my laptop around. On the screen, an email draft, addressed to one of their top investors. Attached? The same documents I just printed, along with a timeline of my involvement. Landon went pale. "You're bluffing," he said. I hit send. Silence. Dead, cold silence. Then I looked at him, finally calm. "Next time you erase someone, make sure they don't keep receipts." I didn't expect silence to feel so satisfying. After I hit send on that email to Landon's investor, I just stood there and watched his face go gray. His jaw locked. His nostrils flared like a kid about to throw a tantrum in a grocery store. No one spoke. Mom clutched her Tupperware tighter. Dad stared at the table like he was trying to disappear into the wood grain. I didn't need them to admit I was right. I just needed them to see it. They left without saying goodbye. Landon slammed the Tesla door so hard the window rattled. Mom didn't even look back. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a message from one of Nutricor's junior devs, a guy named Marcus I barely remembered training through Slack. He said the investors were panicked, that Landon was scrambling, and asked if I could clarify some of the back-end rights. I didn't respond. That night, Riley texted me. Just 4 words. I know the truth. I stared at it for a while. My hands shook, but not from nerves. From adrenaline? From something sharper. I replied, "You okay?" She said she'd stopped by Landon's place to pick up a few of her things, that she asked him straight up about what I'd built, about the server logs, the funding. She said he laughed, told her I was just bitter, that I was a glorified IT guy clinging to relevance. That's when she knew. Not just about me, but about him. She didn't ask for details, didn't dig for drama. She just said, "You deserved credit and dignity, and he gave you neither." It was the first time in weeks someone said something that didn't feel performative. And then she did something that blew the lid off everything. That weekend, she went to a local tech founders meetup downtown. She stood up during a Q&A panel Landon was on and asked a question I don't think anyone saw coming. "Can you tell us about the early-stage architecture of Nutricor?" She said calmly. "Who built the original infrastructure? And who funded your first deployment?" Landon froze, stammered something about a team effort and initial angel support. But she wasn't done. Riley looked him dead in the eye and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Because I've seen the receipts, and I know you've been lying." My phone blew up minutes later. I wasn't there, but someone live tweeted it. Screenshots, clips, even a grainy video of Landon storming off the panel. The next day, Nutricor's biggest investor reached out. He asked to chat privately, said he had concerns about transparency. I didn't gloat. I didn't blast it all over social media. I just sat back and let the truth do what it always does when it finally catches air. Spread. But then, just when I thought it couldn't get more surreal, my mom showed up at my door. Unannounced. Alone. She looked smaller, like the wind had gone out of her. She clutched her purse like a lifeline and didn't even try to fake a smile. "I read it all," she said quietly, stepping into my apartment for the first time in years. "Your documents, the email chain, the code snippets." I poured her some water. Sat across from her, waited. And then she said something I'll never forget. "I'm sorry I didn't believe in you until it was convenient to." That stung more than I thought it would, because it was the closest thing to the truth I'd ever gotten from her. "I don't need you to believe in me now," I said. "I just need you to stop pretending like you ever did." She nodded, eyes misty, then pulled something out of her purse. A small envelope. Handwritten. Inside? A check for $50,000. I looked up, confused. "What is this?" "For the money you gave Landon. With interest." I froze. "He told you?" I asked slowly. She shook her head. "Number he didn't. Riley did." And that's when it hit me. Riley had gone to my mother behind Landon's back. I held that envelope in my hand for what felt like a full minute. The check inside was real. Signed, dated, the exact amount I'd given Landon back when he was nothing but ideas and buzzwords. 50 grand, plus interest. But it wasn't the number that hit me. It was the fact that Riley had gone to my mother. Quietly. Directly. And told her the truth that Landon refused to say out loud. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like someone finally flipped the light switch in a room I'd been standing in for years. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I folded it back into the envelope, slid it into a drawer, and told Mom, "I'm not doing this for money." I never was. She just nodded. Didn't try to argue. Didn't cry. Just sat with it. Like maybe for once she was actually listening instead of waiting to speak. We didn't hug. No dramatic reunion. She left the same way she came in. Quiet, a little shaken, and carrying her purse like it held more than receipts and tissues. That night, Riley called, said she was sorry if she crossed a line. I told her she hadn't, that what she did took guts and I respected the hell out of it. Then she paused and said, "He's been calling me nonstop, threatening to sue. Said I'm defaming him." I let out a breath and said, "He's scared. Let him be scared." But Riley wasn't finished. She said, "I think it's time we let the full story out, publicly. Not just whispers and panels and DMS." I hesitated. "What are you thinking?" She'd already drafted a post. Long, detailed, professional. No personal jabs, just facts, just truth. Backed with screenshots, emails, timestamps. All of it. And she didn't post it from a burner account. She posted it from her LinkedIn, under her real name. Within 12 hours, it went viral. Dozens of investors and founders shared it. A few tech blogs picked it up. One called it a rare look at silent labor in the startup world. Another called it one of the cleanest takedowns of ego-driven leadership this year. But the real blow came a week later. Nutricor's board issued a statement. They'd reviewed Riley's claims, examined documentation, and launched an internal audit. Landon was placed on temporary leave. By month's end, they released a second statement. Effective immediately, Landon Matthews is no longer affiliated with Nutricor in any executive capacity. He didn't go quietly. He went live on Instagram, called me a snake, said I ruined his life, tried to spin it like I'd been jealous since childhood. But nobody cared, because by then the receipts had already spoken, and I had already logged off. It's been 6 months now. Nutricor's still running under new leadership. I have no role there anymore. I asked to have my name removed from all future materials. I didn't want the fame. I wanted my time back. Riley and I still talk. Sometimes we grab coffee. Sometimes we just send each other memes about tech bros imploding. We're not together. We're just two people who came through the same storm and didn't let it drown us. Mom still calls sometimes. She doesn't ask for anything now. She just talks. I listen. That's enough. As for Landon, I haven't heard from him since his rant. I don't expect to. And honestly, I don't need closure from him. I already have it. Because here's the thing no one tells you. You don't have to destroy someone to win. You just have to stop letting them destroy you. I used to think justice had to look like punishment. But now, I know real justice feels like peace. The kind that comes when you're no longer begging people to see you. They either do, or they don't. And when they don't, you walk away, and you don't look back. If any part of this hit home, or if you've ever felt invisible in your own story, I hope you'll share yours too. Leave a comment. Speak it out loud. You never know who needs to hear it. And if you want to hear more real stories like this, you know where the subscribe button is. Thanks for sticking around. This one meant a lot.